Ooh, what's up guys? This is King Vox, and today we're going to be talking about Guild Wars 2 and why you should pick this game up in 2019. Now, if you haven't played Guild Wars 2, Guild Wars 2 is filled with a beret of options. As far as content goes, it's one of the most fulfilling MMORPGs on the market right now to this day. It has beautiful story as well as many different events. It has everything that you could possibly want in an MMORPG. Now let's talk about MMORPGs in today's standard, like the state of MMORPGs. Most people will argue with you and tell you that MMORPGs are dying, or they're just not doing too well, they're kind of struggling right now, and I don't think that's true. Here's my idea of the whole MMORPG genre. So this has always been a niche genre almost from the beginning of time. It didn't even scratch mainstream until I would say World of Warcraft kind of made these type of games very popular for a time period, but then it kind of died off and went back into its niche corner where it's always been. Now, most people that's looking for an MMORPG, they want all spectrums for their character. They want to build a character, have a personal story with it. They want to immerse themselves into their character and have longevity in it. And they want that promise of longevity. They don't want to think that their game is going to close down next month or something like that, or they're going to have to keep re-rolling and stuff like that just to have fun. Guild Wars has so much content, and it hasn't been until lately have I kind of like revitalized my idea of Guild Wars. I've played this game since launch, just about on and off, and it's same with a lot of other games as well. I would say that my main game MMORPG for a long time was World of Warcraft. I switched from World of Warcraft to Ion, back to WoW, to what else, Terra for a little bit, Black Desert since the start of NA. I even played a little bit 2 years before it came out to NA or whatever. I believe in Russia or whatever. Maybe it was like a year or so. It was so long ago. But what I'm getting at now is so many people are out there looking for MMORPGs that have everything that they want. They want PvP, they want PvE, they want multiple different spectrums of PvP and multiple different spectrums of PvE. Now, I can't think of a single MMORPG out there that isn't linear along these lines. And this is why I'm saying that Guild Wars 2 is probably the most complete MMORPG right now to date. And I feel that a lot of people don't give it time or stop to think about how impressive this game is. The game is massive, first of all, and it's free. So I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh, but you have to buy expansions and stuff. You don't have to buy anything. You can play all the way up to 80. You have nothing locked from you as far as like the first world and stuff like that, and that takes you a long time. You guys don't understand. By times you finish your main story, you get to 80 and you completed, like you run around and done stuff in the main world, that should give you an idea whether this is going to be the game for you. Now understand that if you don't invest, what would a game be? If a game was completely 100% free, there would be no content. You understand? You wouldn't have anything to do in the game. The developers couldn't afford to develop the game. So the whole idea of crying about expansions and stuff like that being locked behind something or whatever, that's how it is. They have to make money some way, and I know you guys hear this before, and I know you guys understand that, right? But let's talk about how much game you actually get for free compared to other games. When you play most games and they have a free, let's use DCUO for example. For most people that don't know what that is, that's DC Online or whatever. It's like a superhero game, and they went free to play a couple years ago. Well, more than a couple years ago, a while back. And everything's behind a paywall. I'm talking about you can't do anything. All the class weapons and everything. In Guild Wars 2, there's not much behind a paywall on the free game. You pretty much get the whole base game for free. You don't really need to ever put any money into the game, like literally until you want to advance onto the expansions, which you don't have to buy one expansion to get the next expansion. So if you wanted the latest expansion, you could do that. It absolutely easy, right? So let's get into the whole idea of multiple different ways to PvP and to PvE. Okay, so first we'll start off with something called structured PvP. Structured PvP is this competitive mode that is more for your tight-knit group of friends, or you can play it solo if you're that type of player, but essentially it's 5 versus 5 objective-based PvP. What makes objective-based PvP so cool is, even if you're not too hardcore into PvP or want to fight people, you can kind of avoid it slightly, by focusing on the objectives. So a PvE player can actually outperform pure PvP players just purely from doing objectives and just out finessing the enemy team, right? So that's really cool. I love that because sometimes I just don't feel like being bothered with people, but I still want to do some PvP and you just want to go in there and mix it up, right? So the next version of PvP is something called World versus World. Now this is your mass blob, your slaughter. This is the mode where everyone just goes in and they completely wreck each other. It's like a massive territory control, and I will say that in most other games don't even have world versus world. When I mean world versus world, I mean open world PvP. It's not completely open, but the maps are so large and they're packed during I would say whatever your peak server time is, depending on what server you're on. It's packed, and you actually get to enjoy some kind of I would say resemblance of open world PvP, which we can't do in just about any other MMORPG to this date. So that alone or whatever is just absolutely crazy, right? So now we have the PvE aspect of the game. Now the PvE aspect of the game is one that I am just completely taken away by. There is so much to do as far as PvE in this game that if you're a person that likes to just you come from a mentality where you just need to beat everything today, you're gonna kind of be stuck at a struggle when you first join this game because there's so much to do. You feel like you'll never get anything done, especially if you can't focus and just you really nail down that one thing that you absolutely want to do, because you literally will be trying to do 1,000 things at once and you'll end up getting nothing done. You'll halfway complete just about everything in the game, right? So they have this thing called map completion. Map completion is not required. It's pretty much the way that you quest in this game. So there's no essential, traditional quest guides that you actually go to, accept a quest and go do something. There's hearts around the world that you just run to and you do tasks, and it's put in the world in this way where it's so immersive that you can actually role play your character. So you see my character right here. If you watch my last video, I talked about, wanting to start over and actually experience a lot of the core of the game, without being max level. Because the past couple of years, I've just been boosting my characters, not leveling, not experiencing the level. If you have the mindset that leveling is boring and stuff like that, you're not going to like it. It's kind of like if you have a negative mindset on anything, it doesn't matter what it is, you're always going to view that topic negative. Okay, so I like to have more of a happy type, open-minded mindset when I come into anything or whatever. That way I'm more happy, I'm more pleased, I'm pleasured whenever I do anything in life, So I want to kind of get that out there because I have a lot of friends or whatever that are kind of stuck in this rut mindset that kind of it peels off and it rubs off on your friends, and your friends don't want to hang out with you as much or because you're so negative. You gotta let people enjoy stuff, you can't just be a Debbie Downer all the time. So with that being said, let's actually talk about how many maps there are. So you know, you're not, when you play the free game, you have all of Central Terra available to you. You have all this stuff available. Actually, I'll switch and show you guys. So here I go on my Necro. I have 100% map completion, so you can tell that the map looks completely different. So all of this, and this is something that you should actually enjoy. Don't let your friends, if your friends are already playing this game and you're coming over here, don't let your friends ruin the game for you. Really go out and explore the game, do your personal story, and immerse. Build a character with a proper name. You know, don't name yourself, you know, Cheat Buster 339 5000 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, actually go out there, and if you're going to invest your time into anything, try to have a wonderful experience. It's your time that's being wasted, not ours. Okay? So, other aspects of the game, I would say the expansions and stuff like that, they continue this thing called the story. So, I know you guys know what the story is or whatever. It's pretty much massive in this game. So you have your main story. Your character can go through all of these phases, right? You do this main story. The main story is actually available to you without any expansions whatsoever. And I'm not sure if Living World Season 2 and stuff like that is available to you, but Living World is pretty much an ongoing stories, and that is something that a lot of MMORPGs miss. You know, like, they don't continue their story, or they don't put much effort into their story whatsoever. Well, Guild Wars pumps out stories every like 3 months or so, or something like that, maybe a little bit longer or whatever, but usually a new map comes with that. It's just a lot of stuff or whatever to kind of keep up. So when you're a new character or a new player to the game and you're going to start this or whatever, you're going to be busy for a while. You're going to be busy for a very long time, and that's absolutely cool because you have incentive. You have a lot of stuff to actually do. So now you're probably wondering, well, what other aspects of PvE are there? Now, right behind me, we have an actual dungeon, right? So the game has traditional dungeons that you're actually going to be able to do as you're leveling up. All the dungeons in the game, okay, are available to you free, right with the free game and everything. And there is about, I would say, 8 of them, I think, or something like that, but they're all around the world, and you can see them on the map by these little doors. Let me see if I can actually find another one for you guys. All over. Let me see if I have to like zoom in. Okay, so here's a door right here, so there you go. But the whole idea of having a game that has probably the best PvE that I've ever seen, like even WoW, and I've been a big WoW fanboy for a long time, but man, dungeons in WoW don't compare. They're boring. I don't really know what else to say. Like, this is kind of like the next generation, and other games don't even have PvE content really. I mean, you got Final Fantasy, but Final Fantasy doesn't have PvP. And, you know, I'm not going to get into that whole debate or whatever, but that's why I don't ever, like, give Final Fantasy any of my attention, because I just feel like it's too old-fashioned for me. So, another aspect that you have, so now you're done with dungeons or whatever, you want to step it up. Say you're max level now. The game has so much stuff for you to do. It has this dungeon system called Fractals. Now what Fractals are kind of like in-game dungeons. Now, this is really cool for people that still like to do hardcore PvE content but want a smaller niche type of group to do it with. They want to do it with just their friends, you know, a couple buddies. I'm just like that. I love doing stuff like that, you know, and you're still able to kind of like get a challenge in the game and progress without having to do mass type group PvE, right? So what you're going to basically be doing is building up and climbing up this ladder. Okay, Fractals is essentially like the tower from Sword Art Online. So the higher you go in Fractals, the harder the difficulty and the more dangers you have to worry about. You know, certain mechanics change or whatever. It's absolutely amazing, and they continue to add stuff onto this aspect of the game all the time. So Fractals is probably my favorite PvE in the game right now. And I think raids are starting to kind of like starting to kind of pull me away from Fractals a little bit. But Fractals is just so simple. You can do it. You can do a Fractals right before work. You know, if you don't have like, you know, a spare 20 minutes or even a spare 15 minutes. I'm being attacked right now. It's a sign! Ah! Okay, I'm back. But, you know, let's talk about raids. Okay, so raids are absolutely hectic. I'm just going to say that right now. Raids are hectic, but they're a lot more fun than raids that I've played in previous games. It's not just tank and spank. At times, raids can seem so chaotic that you kind of don't feel like there's a such thing as a healer or a such thing as a tank. Sometimes you feel like you're the damn tank, and you're just like, what the hell is going on? But it puts you in this state of like awareness where you're just like, all right, I'm this badass and I'm taking on this boss with a group of friends. Like, it doesn't seem like, oh, I'm just there. Like, and what I mean is, when I raid in games like World of Warcraft, a lot of the times I often feel like I'm just being carried. No matter if I'm top DPS or the tank or anything, I don't feel like my role is significant. So a lot of people cry about the Guild Wars raid mechanics and the bosses are kind of a little bit too active. What that means is they're throwing out a little bit too much skills and damage all over the floor. But there's a certain aspect of that that keeps the game alive, and I'm pretty sure the developers planned it to be like that. It's absolutely brilliant. When you think of it, my first couple times raiding, I was like, oh my god, it's way too much stuff going on for no reason. It's to the point where it's tedious. As I kept doing it and learned how to actually do the boss and learned the mechanics, it got to this point where I felt like I was like Dante from Devil May Cry, and I'm just like dodging and moving around and actually, you know, doing it. I'm not dying, I'm actually putting some DPS. I feel at that moment that I was some type of elite fighting this raid, okay? And that's the type of feeling that Guild Wars PvE kind of gives you, and it feels absolutely great. I cannot explain the feeling. It's something that you have to experience for yourself. Don't be afraid to get in there and get dirty. You're gonna die a couple thousand times, but after that, you're gonna be a boss and you're gonna feel good about yourself because you're going to be able to walk knowing that, hey, I can handle raid mechanics. I'm that guy, you know what I mean? Because once you can dodge those boss attacks, you can dodge anything. It actually makes you a better PvPer. And sometimes it looks like there's no hope. The whole floor is covered, but you get out of there. All right? So I don't want this video to be too long, but I just wanted to just kind of express my feelings and love for this game. And at times I do get burnt out because I'm a type of player that tries to like burst and do things so, like, you know what I mean? I like to like just kind of be so hardcore at something that I burn myself out on things, and that's what type of player I am. I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to slow down. I'm trying to enjoy the game, and that's why this time I decided not to focus so much on map completion on this character and go through it kind of slowly. One more thing I kind of wanted to talk about, because I already kind of talked about Living World. You know, Living World is the continued story that the developers keep pushing out. So even after an expansion, you know, and they have that story, you go through that, the story doesn't stop. They keep releasing these things that are kind of like mini expansions, and they just give you so much story and so much things to kind of do, and it's absolutely great. And I haven't really been taking advantage of it lately, but I'm definitely going to do it on this character. And there's some things that I kind of missed out on that I wish I would have actually got into, and that's absolutely fine right now. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is achievements, legendaries, gear, pets. As far as collecting things in this game, the mastery system, so even when you hit max level, you still have things to do. You still have these things called masteries. This character has them locked. I'll switch really fast. After you hit max level, you still have these things called masteries, right? So your progression doesn't stop. It's not like, oh my goodness, I hit 80 and now there's nothing to do. So the game has all the, I'm not going to go through all these masteries. You can look up this system on your own at some point or whatever, but essentially you know, it's masteries for everything. You have central tier masteries, which you'll be able to focus on if you don't have any of the expansions, and each expansion has their own masteries, and what these are pretty much like passives in cool qualities of life that you add to your character and your whole gameplay, your whole account. And it's very nice. So right now I'm mastery rank 148. I believe the top person I've seen so far was like 298 or something like that. So I've been playing this game for such a long time, and I don't even have half. I barely have half of how many masteries you can actually have. And these things, they're not like super hard to get, but they're challenging and it feels good. It's not tedious or whatever. It's pretty nice. If you focus and actually try to do it, you can pretty much max some of these things out within a month. So just keep that in mind or whatever. A different progression type system, and the only other MMORPG that has that right now is I believe ESO. They have a some type of progression system or something like that, a Paragon system. I forget what it's called, but I will say that these two games are unique in that aspect. Like, you know, what games you know that are MMORPGs that after you hit max level you still have a different type of thing or whatever to kind of focus on that's not completely useless. So I'll give you some examples of what you can kind of do. They have this one, Fractal Attunement. I have this all max or whatever, and what this basically going to do is allow me to specialize in fractals, which are those hardcore dungeons that I was telling you about earlier. They're located right here, you know, and what those perks are going to do is give me stuff like an extra life. It's going to give me more loot when we kill the boss and stuff like that, more boxes or whatever, so you get more bang for your buck, and it's noticeable. If it's really something that you actually do want to max if you're going to be playing fractals. And that's what I mean. Stuff like that is just so great in the game. Let's talk about legendaries. There's two different ways to get legendaries. You can build them or you can buy them. You know, there's collections right here, and as you can see, I'm working on several different legendaries right now, and what this is going to do is give you the precursor. A precursor is kind of like the foundation of a legendary. It's kind of like the weapon that you get before that. It's kind of like you getting a car rim and then you get the tire later. I know that was kind of a dumb analogy or whatever, but hey, that's all that comes to mind right now, right? But legendaries feel absolutely great when you get them, and I have legendaries on right now. So this is what you're seeing right now. These are actually legendaries. It does stuff like leave footprints. It has really nice visual effects, and you can change the stats at any time. So you can see like the frosty thing when I spin, that's what the legendary adds. There's tons of legendaries in the game. You guys can actually look those up, and actually that could give you some initiative or whatever to actually play the game. And I know back in the day I used to come back every time a new legendary came, and then started trying to grind it out and be like, oh no, I don't feel like doing this right now, I'm burnt out, because I just like go so hard at it. But I've been playing the game for a long time. I have 3 legendaries. There's some people that have been playing this game since the beginning and don't have a single legendary. I mean, they could probably afford to buy one, but they're just, some of them are just afraid to actually start the progression, right? So there are a lot of things in this game that you can collect, dye. There are different ways to kind of like change the clothes and outfits that you have. Like this right here is kind of like, as you can see, I can just change the way I look without worrying about my stats or anything. There's so much customization through the armor, and I know that's not a good example right now, whatever, but mostly, hold on, let me reset this before I end up spinning all my stuff. But mostly I just use outfits because I'm a guy, you know, we're not really too good at, you know, playing dress up or any of that stuff. That stuff is to help you get your wives and your sisters, you know, your daughters and stuff like that into the game, which there's a lot of women that play Guild Wars and absolutely love it. My wife plays, and she will not play anything else. She swears by this game. She absolutely loves it. And even when I burnt out and I want to take a break, she forces me to play with her. So that's just how it is, bro. That's just how it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I couldn't cover every single little aspect, but I did my best to cover what I actually could cover and what I could think of at the moment. If you have any more questions about the game, feel free to comment down below and tell me, and tell all of us or whatever, how you feel about the game, and any questions that you have, you can just ask us, you know, because my fan base is really cool. They'll answer anything in the comments. I read just about every comment and I'll give you an answer. I usually heart the comments that I love, and as always, if you love this video, if this video helps you out tremendously, feel free to use my links below. They are sponsored links. I am partnered with ArenaNet or whatever, but by any means was my idea or anything, my opinion of this game changed by that fact. If you watch some of my other videos, I am very bold and I do and say whatever I want to say. You understand? Anyway, love you guys. Make sure to hit that join button if you want to support the channel. Peace out. This has been King's Box.